Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Siti Aisyah binti Zulkarnain. In my presentation, I'll be explaining about the types of animation. There are 5 types of animation, which are traditional animation, 2D vector-based animation, 3D computer animation, stop motion, and lastly, motion graphics. The first one is traditional animation. It is the first and old version of 2D animation, which also known as cell animation. It is a hand-drawn whereby the animators will draw their characters frame by frame on a big light table to create animation sequence, which results in illusion of movement. The light coming from the drafting table allow the animator to see their previous drawings through the paper to get better look of their animation. This technique is called as onion skinning. Then, those drawings will be transferred onto clear acetate sheet called cells for painting. So, this is where the term cell animation comes from. Disney also used this type of animation in the old days. If you are familiar with flip books, it is also one of the examples of traditional animation. In 1990s, almost all animation studios stopped using cells and started scanning drawings into computer for digital coloring. Now many hand-drawn animators skip paper altogether and draw directly into the computer using a tablet, but they still create their animation frame by frame using the same techniques and principle as in the past. Example of traditional animation is Mickey Mouse. Next is 2D vector-based animation. 2D vector-based animation has become very popular in the last decade due to the accessibility of technology, where the animators can create their own character by using a software instead of drawing it. In this type of 2D animation, an animator has an additional option of creating rigs for the characters, which allows the body parts of the characters to move individually instead of drawing the characters all over again like in the traditional animation. 2D vector-based animation also give flexibilities to animators, especially to those who don't have strong drawing skills, because it only involves the use of software. However, in traditional animation, strong drawing skills are needed and very important. Example of 2D vector-based animation are SpongeBob SquarePants and also Phineas and Ferb. Nowadays, 3D computer animation is the most popular type of animation for movies, TV series, as well as live action films and video games where the digital characters are created. Just like I mentioned before, in the past, drawing skills are very important, but with computer animation, drawing skills are less needed. Animators create the digital characters in a 3D program, which allows the characters to move with spatial controls that are connected to each part of the body, such as hands, elbows, and legs. System of motion paths are used to define the movement of the characters. As 3D animation is an intensive process, it often involves many separate specialists to model the character, control its movement, animate it, and then texture and light it for the final output. Example of 3D animation are Toy Story and Upin and Ipin. The difference between 2D and 3D animation is that in 3D animation, the character's body parts are always present, meaning that in 2D animation, the character has to be drawn for every frame. For example, when the character is viewed from the side, half of its body is not shown, thus the other part is not drawn. Technically, it does not even exist. In 3D animation, the character's body parts always exist in the shot. For example, even if one hand is not visible, it's still there. Another example, let's say if the character is showing its back in 2D animation, the animators will only draw the back side of the character without having to draw the front side. Whereas in 3D animation, even if it's only the back side is shown, The front side is still there even though we cannot see it. Next is stop motion. Stop motion is a special form of animation where it involves manipulation of real-world objects. It is done by taking a photo of an object, then move it just a little bit, then take another photo. The process is done repeatedly. When the photos are played back one after another, it creates an illusion of movement. Stop motion needs to be shot straight ahead all the way through the end of the scene. If a mistake is made on one frame, it's very difficult to fix it without having to start all over again. Unlike in 2D animation, if a mistake is done, the frame can be redrawn by the animators. There are 6 different styles of stop motion. The first one is claymation. The characters are made out of clay or plasticine, which is not an actual clay. In advanced claymation, metal skeletons are used to make the characters more sturdy, whereby the clay is molded onto it. Some animators would use regular puppets, which also built using a skeletal rig. Also, some stop motion use action figures, for example Lego, for animation. This genre is very popular on YouTube, where some YouTubers create funny skits using these Lego characters. Next is cutout. Animators would use paper or cardboard to create a character. As for silhouette, it also uses cardboard or some kind of flat material to create characters. But in silhouette motion, the objects will appear dark and the shot is depicted with silhouette only. It is one of the oldest forms of stop motion and rarely used today. Lastly, pixelation. This type of stop motion uses real people and environment instead of puppets to create videos. It is done by taking a still photo, moving things around, and then taking another photo. Motion graphic is different from other types of animation because it is not character or story driven like in other types of animation. Typography is the major component. Motion graphics also focus on making interesting moving graphics elements or text logo, usually for commercial or promotional purposes. It doesn't require any knowledge of body mechanics or acting, but a good understanding of camera motion. Motion graphics can either be 2D or 3D. It can also be found everywhere in commercials, news, talk shows, movies, vlogs, and many more. So that is all from me. Thank you.